Okay, I want to check out Metro's video. Is it a good video? Should I even watch it on stream? I think he's just yapping. Nah, bro. I think I skip on... Okay, let me skim through this. The man who ruined Overwatch 2.
To 6v6 versus 5v5. For that is, for the 20 millionth time, I think the issues that Overwatch has are non-related to 6v6 versus 5v5. And what needs to change is this person over here. Now, not my friend SVP, he's cool, okay? I mean that guy over there.
Okay, so this video is Metro yapping about how Alec Dawson, the lead hero designer, is the reason why Overwatch is dying. First and foremost, how does he know who does how much work in the entire thing in general? Does he have insider information? Aaron's face is my face listening to this.
Like Dawson personally, I'm sure he's a nice person in real life, but I think he has shown us time and time again that he is incapable of fixing this game. He's incapable of wanting to listen to the community. And that I think is partially to do with the culture Blizzard always had.
Is that the breast milk incident?
Blizzard was always a company that created amazing games, right? And then they drove the
Always a company creating amazing games. I think the last good game they've made has been Overwatch.
games into the ground. Overwatch 1 was like that with Jeff Kaplan, Jeff Goodman, right? Amazing game when it came out, and then they kind of drove it to the ground with the release of Brig. The issue there is that they
Oh my god. I don't think it's fair to say that Brigitte is the sole reason why the game is dying. I think just disassembling everything wrong with the game and then just putting it all together and saying that X thing is the reason why the game is in a bad state is
used
a
to
bit
listen
silly.
to the community.
Okay, I know I'm stopping a lot, but he said the same thing is happening to every game. So I don't think Alec Dawson works on every single game. So okay, I'm just gonna let it play.
And in the end, Blizzard is a company like any other. They need to make money, right? And in the end, what matters is how many skins they sell, how much money they make. So you have to understand one thing before we talk about all of this, and it's all gonna make sense. Blizzard.
He is right in the sense that Blizzard is a business and they want to make money, so it's a free-to-play game, so they strive to make money with cosmetics. True, it is annoying. I'll be honest, I'm super annoyed by all the skins. It's like every season you start off with them advertising 50 million skins, but that is a true thing.
I would not mind spending money in the game if the game was good. I want to talk about their philosophy in the game. And I want to show you what Alec Dawson has been cooking up over the last year and a half of Overwatch 2 balance. I'll give you the number one example that I think everyone can think of. When Mauga released in the pre-test, he was perceived weak by the developers, so they buffed him. This is the patch.
The rank 1 Mauga player is complaining about Mauga. I can't believe this. Imagine Gushue to complain about Mauga. He's a top 10 Mauga player, by the way. Just want to point out.
Really, it felt like one person on the team had all the impact and everyone else was just a pawn. Nobody else had fun, but I had fun. Does that remind you of something? Maybe the meta right now. Wait. Not even tanks are having fun anymore. And I'll get into that in a second. Anyways, right? So
does he think Alec Dawson single-handedly made this character and everyone else was telling him that the character is broken and he was like, no, you're gonna release it the way I want it? Is he like some super villain? How does he think a corporation works? Aaron Keller also works at the team.
in Blizzard's eyes, everything needs to have around a 50% win rate. Orisa here is another example, right? We had so many patches with Orisa. She was really weak, and then they mega buff her. She's unkillable. Everyone plays Orisa only, and nobody's having fun.
I don't think he understands. Does he just want the same meta 24/7? Like, of course you buff, nerf. What is the complaint here? That a character is bad, so they buff it, so now the character is good, and then they address that and they nerf it? Does he expect like a just permanently 50% win rate for all characters? Counter argument on all of this, I know in ranked in general it feels like Orisa, Roadhog, Mauga, like maybe Mauga is a bit more playable, but it does feel like lone characters are very meta. But I do want to point out the fact that all of the high skill characters have been meta for the entirety of the Overwatch 2 pro scene. Lucio has been basically meta for 90%. Queen has been meta. Winston has been meta. Kiriko has been meta. I know he hates Kiriko. Diva has been meta. Soljin has been meta for so long. All of these things that we complain about, they only apply in ranked, and no offense to Metro, but in mostly in lower ranked elos. Yeah, Mauga was meta for a really long time. Queen was meta for quite a bit in pro play. But Mauga was meta for a while. Hardcore meta, I don't deny that. And Orisa was meta for a bit. But usually, it always comes down to Winston, Diva, and, Ramatra or whatever else, right? In ranked, you can play everything, but I don't think you can pick Roadhog and insta-win the game. Let's keep listening. In ranked, anything goes. Everybody is just fucking stupid, right?
this is way too good, right? Like the cooldown reduction and a passive 100 health for just pressing the button. Everyone knew this was gonna make Mauga ruin the game again. But again, think about Blizzard's and Alec Dawson's philosophy here. Even though he's a GOAT player, probably doesn't even play the game himself, even though he came from a...
I want to point out that GOAT isn't much further away from Diamond. Just mentioning that for no reason.
With full-blown back to Mauga, even stronger than on release. And it gets so bad that literally the week after, right, they revert every single change and nerf his base health to where he's now...
Okay, but what is the problem with that? They saw Mauga was weak, they giga buffed him, they made a mistake, and they nerfed it. In Overwatch 1, they would have giga buffed Mauga and then left him there for months. You can't make balancing. You can't just sit there, release characters, make changes, and just assume you're always going to be right from the get-go. You need to release something, and as long as you listen to the general consensus of people and then revert it. So there was an issue with Mauga, right? They released him, they made a mistake, and then they reverted. They listened to the player base and they changed that. Maybe the initial idea was bad, but at least they're willing to listen and change something. And if we assume that Alec Dawson does all the changes, then that is really well done by the lead hero designer, because it is good, because you see them releasing a bad character, releasing a character that is OP, nerfing him, and then changing him, buffing him again, and then nerfing him again. If you check League or any other game, you're constantly going to get buffs and nerfs for any character. The idea is actually addressing the problem. Wouldn't that be avoided with PTR Experimental? Maybe. But the thing is, it is very different releasing a character in PTR Experimental and releasing him in rank. I agree with Metro. This change, if you just take 2 seconds to read it, is horrible. I agree. Assuming that all of us playing PTR and testing stuff will always have the correct decisions is also kind of silly in my head. I think a lot of people and content creators usually assume that we all know what's best for the game. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. All I'm saying is, if it was down to us to balance the game or the average consumer to balance the game, I think the game would be 10 times worse. Also, you need to understand that the PTR Experimental is a very low player, like a very low amount of players that play the game. We're all losing our minds when we heard about the HP changes, about the tank buffs, and we all assume that tank will be really, really strong and everything's going to be really fun for tank players and they're going to bully lobbies. Ultimately, I'll be honest with you, it feels the same. It feels the same. Even after all of these buffs, even after all these changes, it feels ultimately the same. With HP buffs, it feels the same. With hitbox changes, it feels the same. Everybody was losing their minds, but ultimately, it just feels like the same game. It's just kind of boring anyways. My point is that a lot of people lose their minds preemptively. And if developers always listened to the cries of players preemptively, we wouldn't have no changes whatsoever. That's good.
I think Zarya got the same bubble change like 4 times, right? I think Orisa got the same changes like 5 times. They're just guessing. They're experimenting without doing actual research. And this wouldn't be an issue if it...
What research? You can't just pull up the Wikipedia and just like, it's written down how to balance the game. What research? What research do you want them to do? Exactly because they do research, they make these changes. They look at the win losses, the statistics, and they make the changes based on that. They do research. Maybe that is the problem, that they do the research. I do want to point out that he's been yapping for 7 minutes about the game. I think the video starts now.
It feels like each of the roles are at opposition with each other. Like, it feels like when, you know, at the start of Overwatch 2, we had like, oh, supports don't have enough. And
this is the moment where Overwatch dies. Okay.
I think it shows...
I don't remember what he said here, but I genuinely don't think he said something so horrific to make an entire video out of.
Tanks have always had the most influence on a match throughout Overwatch.
So what he just confirmed is, if you play any game of Overwatch at any rank, tank, on average, was always the most influential, which means the impact of the 2 tank players was always the highest in a match. If your tank is better than the other tank, you're more likely to win than if your DPS was better than the other DPS. Now, obviously, there's margins to that, right?
Did he just figure that out? Is this his great gotcha moment? And if the one tank on your team doesn't play well, you lose the game? The thing is, if your tank plays bad, you lose the game 100%. But if your DPS plays bad, you have another DPS. And that is where the 6v6 argument can come in. But like, we're not arguing about 6v6 or 5v5. We'll see when the playtest comes. But like, obviously, tank is the most influential. But it's not about whether or not it is influential. It's just that it's just boring to play tank. I don't disagree with I don't understand why this is the thing that, okay, we're gonna watch and see. I don't know why this is the big gotcha moment.
Tank is a really unfun role, and I still think it is.
Whether that experience felt good or not, it is a subjective opinion, right?
They know tank is the strongest, and they basically say, we don't really care if you think that's fun.
But they've always had
They
the most
didn't say we don't care if you think it's fun, bro. they said it's a subjective experience. It's a subjective. I'm trying to glaze the developers. I'm not having fun with Overwatch. I'm gonna like run away the moment I get a chance, right? And there's a lot of things I really dislike about the game, but like it is true, it's a subjective experience. Like the Roadhog player is gonna have way more fun playing against the Winston player than the Winston player against the Roadhog player. Playing DPS is a subjective opinion whether or not it's fun. Playing support is also a subjective opinion whether it's not fun. Or everything is a subjective opinion.
So we're talking about the latest patch. The patch where tank rolls the entire lobby. Are they pushed a little far? Maybe. But that was intentional. You can't have a role be too powerful and make it intentional. No responsibility here. But by the way, during this entire 2-3 hour interview, not a single time did Alec Dawson take responsibility for any of the fuck-ups. Always acting like it was planned, right?
Did he think that all of the tank buffs were an accident? I'm really confused. Of course it's intentional. I think Metro misunderstands the concept of a character being influential. Tank in a 1v1 situation is always better. If you fight in 1v1, tank is almost always better. Tank didn't feel good because when you play tank, if your tank is dead, I mean, if you play in a team game, because there's one tank, argue about 6v6, 5v5, I don't care about that. Right now, if you die as tank, you lose the game. Tank is influential. If your tank is performing badly, you lose the game because there's one tank. And the other tank, if they play better, there's nobody to fill in the gaps. There's nobody. So tank is very, very influential right now because you need the tank. You can have one support player doing nothing. You can have one DPS player doing nothing, and you can fill in the gaps. With tank, you cannot fill in the gaps. So it is the most influential role, but it still felt weak. I think it's pretty clear cut what he means here. He doesn't mean that he's not he's not retconning his opinions mid-talk. All of this makes perfect sense, I feel like, if you're not actively trying to find a reason to talk shit about Alec Dawson.
So before this massive tank buff that came out mid-season, season 11, we had tank that was really unfun because everyone shot them, right?
What is the point of
right?
this?
If you play tank, the enemy counterpicks you.
What is he saying?
They pick Ana, they anti you, you get sleep dart, you get stunned, right? Everyone just shoots you.
What is the point?
But why is that? It's because tank has always, as Alec Dawson just confirmed, has always had the most influence on the game. If I don't shoot the enemy right hard over and over and break his shield, he's gonna run into me and kill me.
I don't understand what is the point he's trying to make. If you kill the supports for the tank also dies. That the entire point of dive is that you don't want to shoot the tank. You go on the back line, you kill them. Tank, a lot of the times, you either all focus the tank or kill the supports. The game isn't always kill the tank. When I play Winston, I don't shoot the tank. When I play Doomfist, I don't shoot the tank. As a matter of fact, I think if you play Soldier and shoot the Reinhardt, you're probably throwing the game. But I don't understand what is the argument here against tank being the most influential. In every game you play, tank is the most influential because it's the front line. Imagine the outer wall of a castle. It's like saying that the inner wall is less influential than the outer wall. Of course, because if you break the outer wall, then the troops can go in and take space. The wall holds the space. It keeps the enemies away. That is the point of tank in any game. If you play League and your top laner in a team fight dies, that means their top laner can kill you and kill your backline and go in. It's about maintaining space. In Dota, the same thing. And in Valorant doesn't have one, but you get the idea. In MMOs, right? MMOs also, the tank soaks up the damage, takes space, controls the game a bit. And then you have the DPS, and then you have the supports. Of course it's the most influential role. Because you cannot make a team without a tank. It is impossible. So of course it's the most influential role. That is the core concept of playing tank. Tank in every single situation is always the most influential role. Because without the tank, there's no way to soak damage. And without anyone soaking damage and controlling space, the people that are supposed to do damage die. So I don't understand what is the point and why is Alec Dawson the one to blame. It's also the same with actual tanks. There's a reason why the role is called tank because that's what tanks do in real life. You Yeah, like you make a great point, right? It is.
It makes you have even more pressure. So it's completely counterintuitive. If they want people to play more tank, they should make tank less impactful. Because then
Why would I want to play tank if I can't do anything? What would be the point of me playing tank, bro? If they make Winston less impact, why would I play tank?
I'll go over it real quick, so we don't have like a guy in the comment be like, oh, you don't have a solution, what would you do? Make tank really tanky like it is now, maybe even more tanky, and reduce their damage drastically. What's gonna happen is, if you play tank, you can still run into the enemy and force them away, right? Because if you have like 1000 HP on Rhine, even if you do a bit less damage, the enemy DPS will still have to run away from you and respect you, right? So you can play your role, but then the enemy would not be incentivized to shoot you, because you wouldn't die, you would be a true tank. That's how tank is in WoW. That's how tanky heroes are in Dota, right? Where you don't want to shoot the tank. You want to shoot everyone else. It's a basic lack of understanding of how the game works by the lead hero designer of the video game. I have so many friends in this game. I've played this game for 7-8 years.
Okay, makes a decent point here. It makes a decent point in the sense that I've always said that I don't want every tank to be a DPS, and I would rather be tanky and have buttons that could control the game, the flow of the game, like Auto Reset, for example, and a lot of cool things that I can do to actually support my team in a way. He says the same thing I did. Tanks have always been tanky in MOBAs and everything else.
It's a 1v1 of tanks, everyone else is spectating, and even on tank, you feel like you're not having fun because you're still taking all the cooldowns and you're still getting counterpicked, right? You pick Diva, the enemy will pick Zarya, then you swap to Junker Queen, right? Then the enemy picks Diva. It's just counter swap.
Why would you go Queen against Zarya? I still don't understand why he thinks that Alec Dawson is the sole reason why the game is the way it is. We're not watching 6v6 propaganda, mind you. Metro said even if we go 6v6, the game will still be dog shit. So he's just a full-on hater.
Hire someone that actually cares about the game and knows how the game works to balance the game, right? Or maybe listen to pro players giving you feedback, streamers giving you feedback, high-level players giving you feedback, the general community giving you feedback.
Here's the thing. I agree, everybody's giving you feedback, but they're listening so much more than before. If you ask half the player base, they're gonna say that they only listen to pros. If you ask the pros, they're gonna say they only listen to casuals. If you listen to Metro, he's gonna complain about Reinhardt and say he's brainless and needs a nerf. I don't know what Metro's stakes are or whatever else. If you listen to 6 or so, they're gonna say Roadhog is weak and needs buffs. Everybody has their own take based on the heroes they play. You can't just listen to one group of people and assume that they're all gonna have the same take. If we take all of the players right now, all the top 500, all 500 people, and talk about balancing, everybody is gonna have a completely different idea of what balancing is supposed to be. So who do you listen to? You can't, it is not as simple. Like, we have some general ideas, and I agree that the changes they make so cooked sometimes, and I really dislike them. But it's a fucking corporation, bro. It's not an indie game where Alec Dawson is the sole developer. Aaron Carroller is also there, and then you have other people in there as well, and then you need to get the changes done, and then they need to be accepted before you actually send them to live. And there's multiple people in the office. What does he think? Alec Dawson is some dictator killing the game? We've had the same discussions during Overwatch 1. It's been the same thing all the time. In Overwatch 1, the 2 tanks always dictated the meta. The 2 tanks would insta-win every single game. I would duel with KSA, or 2 tank players would duel and win every single game. It was the exactly same thing, because tank is the most influential role.
Feedback instead of being so far up your own ass to where everyone hates the game, every single streamer, every single player, and you're like, I think we went too far, but it was intentional, it was a good job, we did a good job, hey me.
He never said he did a good job. The point was that he did changes, and maybe the changes they made were too far, but they're looking to change it in the future and make adjustments. He never said he did a good job. In a way, he was self-criticizing himself, and he was like, you know, maybe we overbuffed it, but we'll look into it.
But what people tend to forget when they talk about 6v6, that even in Overwatch 1, they couldn't balance 6v6. And the big reason they went to 5v5 is because they were incapable of balancing 6 versus 6. We had double shield meta that they couldn't fix for over 2 years. We had goats where they had to add roll queue because
This fucking video is about to make me into a 6v6 sexual because I'm losing my mind over this. The dev team is completely different, first and foremost. And second of all, no matter what changes they make, Metro will still think the game is terrible. Because Metro thought the game was terrible in Overwatch 1, and I remember it clearly, and he still thinks the game is terrible, and it's been the same discussion for the last 5 years.
Complex interactions in 6v6 if you can't even balance 5v5. I'm talking about like combos like Ramatra Mauga, right? Where you cycle like overdrive.
Ramatra Mauga. I was thinking about maybe Queen Zarya, maybe Queen Reinhardt, Ramatra Mauga.
And then Ramatra goes in punches and has infinite health, right? There's so many... you know, I play DPS and the enemy tank picked D.Va. I can't play the game. And then you have Alec Dawson sitting in an interview and telling you to his face, yeah, that was actually intentional. I want you as a human being to be worthless in the game. Because tank decides how the game works.
What a quote, bro. I think that you as a human being is gonna be worthless. That is exactly what Alex said when he said we might have overtuned tanks. That is exact. He said you're worthless, meaningless. Your life is as pointless as a summer fly. The air you breathe. And, you know, finish the quote with low tier. He's just low tier god, bro.
That the matchmaking is actually not that bad anymore. I think the Season 9 matchmaking changes were really good. But it really doesn't matter because...
I do like the fact that he keeps glazing Season 9 balance changes that were probably made by Alec Dawson. He also thinks Alec Dawson is the reason why the game is dying. I don't think it's fair to say that Alec Dawson is the sole reason why we have so many problems with the game. And I think a lot of the problems have always been a thing in general. And I think as a new player, if you play this game, and as a casual player, you're gonna have a lot of fun. But when you start taking the game too seriously, it gets really boring. I'll be honest with you guys. I understand some of his points. It feels miserable to play tank. It feels miserable to play against tank. It feels miserable to exist in this game. Everybody's miserable. Nobody's having fun. Is that really because of balancing? Maybe. Maybe D.Va is overtuned. And I'll be honest with you, they will nerf D.Va eventually. And they will nerf all other characters eventually as well. And it will happen. Things will happen. But do you really think that it's gonna make the game more fun for you? No matter what changes they make, even if Soldier is giga OP, you will always be miserable. But I don't think Alec Dawson sat there, made the choice to giga buff D.Va because he wanted to get out of gold, and then enforced it upon the dev team. It's just a byproduct of spending 10 hours a day on the game. I don't think we should all listen to the every single cry the community has. I don't think 6v6 is gonna solve anything, I'll be honest with you. But let's see this last minute of yapping.
I'm not saying you have an easy job here to do, right? But how about you listen to people that know what they're talking about? I don't think of myself
Who are the people who know what they're talking about, Metro?
As a mega smart human being, but I will never understand how
Listen, I would do anything to not let Metro balance this game.
To get more people to play tank because people don't enjoy the role, and you make it even like you put even more pressure on the role. In consequence, you make everyone else miserable too. And you could say, Metro, you've played the game for 7-8 years, you're burnt out. I don't think I'm burnt out. Everyone feels the
I think you're burnt out. I'll be honest with you. I think bro is burnt out.
same way. Like Flats and Emong don't even play the game anymore, and when they do, they play DPS or quick play.
I agree. And I don't have fun playing the game, and nobody has fun playing the game. We have been playing this game for 8 years, to be fair. I don't know how much more we can squeeze out of this game. I think the tank changes are cooked, mind you. I absolutely hate the tank changes. I don't think it's that bad. And I think in a pro environment, it is super fun. If you, like me watching Frogger today, was really fun. And scrimming with the team, and like, I think pro-wise, I think the game excels in a really good environment. Maybe you don't earn a lot of money, but there's a lot of things you can learn about the game and get a lot better and perform and pop off, and I think that's great. And in the casual sense, I think the game is also fun. Because you can play silly characters, do your thing. Me playing with the Zesties, it's always fun. 100%, the truth is, and I believe it from the bottom of my heart, me, Metro, Flaz, Emong, Necros, whoever else, we've been playing this game for 8 fucking years, bro. Half the people I named are over 30 years old. What the fuck are we doing with our lives? I have never dedicated so much time in any game. I get bored from games after a month. I've never played a game for 8 years. And this game, it has never had that much content to actually force me to play for 8 years fully engaged.
While tech
What
is
are the
in
last 20
strongest it
seconds?
has ever been. And you really think everyone is burnt out at the same time? It's time for a change if you want to save this game.
8 years from now, Metro will make another video about the new lead hero designer, about how he's killing the game at the prime age of 40, and he'll explain to us that we're supposed to protest to save the game today. I just know for a fact it's 6 years ago. We've been yapping. 6 more years in the future is gonna be the same fucking thing. I'm losing my mind, bro.